We're live.
We're live?
We're live.
We're alive, for sure. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to you guys. 5:30 Thursday night. We are back live here in the Well Seasoned Kitchen. It's great to have you joining us tonight.
Weather is nice.
I know.
We're warm. We're drinking white wine. The produce started to pop up. The first batch of salad greens started to be delivered to suppliers from local farms. So we're opening up.
I know, spring is in the air for sure. Yesterday was a little cold and wet, but...
Well, that's the passive-aggressive Canadian weather. it's just, it's sunny but cold. I never get that. I mean, I have a deal with sun. I want to be warm if it's... I don't like the whole Halifax thing.
They call right now fake spring because we'll get one more blast of winter typically.
What is that long weekend? Don't plant anything before...
For the May long weekend?
Yeah.
So this is like fake spring, right before real spring starts, and then summer. I'm looking forward to summer.
I like winter. I don't care for summer, so it's, I'll be, yeah.
I like all the seasons, actually.
Yeah, actually, you are right. BC is such a beautiful place to experience that. It's not like, just like East Coast and it's hot. Mm-hmm. It's uber hot, and when it's cold, it's very cold. I love this climate very, very much.
But right now, I live in Walnut Grove, and if you drive down 88th Avenue, it doesn't matter east or west, whichever way, both sides of the street are lined with cherry blossom trees.
Oh,
it's
man,
spectacular.
I'm over that. I'm like,
it's so pretty.
It is so pretty, but the social media, I'm like, all right, here we go again.
I love it.
250th post of cherry blossoms.
I love it. My allergies, not so much, but I do love to look at it.
You can't cure cherry blossoms. Did you know that?
You can cure them?
Yeah, you can pack them in salt. Claire has been doing it, and she's using it in her danishes.
Really?
To make a pastry cream.
You know what I'm going to make as soon as it's ready? I'm going to do a simple syrup with lavender. I wanted to do it last year, and I waited too long, and I missed the lavender. I think we got some inclement weather around the lavender time, but I'm going to make lavender simple syrup for my gin and tonic.
Yeah, it's great in coffee, too. We made so much money with that.
Lavender?
You've never had
I'm sorry, not lavender. Lilac. Lilac.
What the hell is she talking about?
Lilac.
Like, there's dry lavender all over the place.
No, lavender.
Fresh lavender doesn't smell a whole lot.
No, sorry, lilac. I'm going to make lilac simple syrup as soon as it's available. And
amazing.
I don't think that would be so great in coffee, but I don't know. No, we can try it and see.
Lavender sings in coffee, though. In chocolate, too, with milk chocolate, lavender.
Mm-hmm. I think that was my birthday cake flavor this year.
Oh, is
from
it?
Eleanor. Chocolate and lavender.
That was her recipe. Milk chocolate lavender was her recipe. I remember that.
It was delicious, nonetheless.
Yeah, we all use it. It's originated from Cafe Medina, which I shouldn't say, but hopefully I don't get sued.
Anyhow, back to spring, avoiding the lawsuits for Chef D. One of my favorite spring ingredients is
asparagus.
Asparagus.
I love asparagus too. Asparagus is actually all year round available, but right now it is where it's peak at. Like it's not coming from Peru or anything. I think they just started right now, and I got a hold of some, but it is way more juicier. Its flavor is way more pronounced. It is a novelty in my opinion. Like, it doesn't have a whole lot of taste to it.
Oh, I love the flavor of asparagus.
But that's what spring should taste like. Nice, light, more acidic, less cream, less butterfat, less stewy, like thick things, Everything just goes on a grill. I love the grilling weather, obviously.
When I was growing up, a really fancy meal at my house, my stepmom actually made really delicious crepes, and she would roll the crepe with some shaved ham, some fresh steamed, blanched asparagus spears, and she would roll it all up in the crepe and cover it in hollandaise sauce. It was so delicious. That was a really nice fancy meal at my house when I was a kid growing up, and I still think about that all the time. It's such a nice brunch dish, or you could add a poached egg, and that would be...
you should just cook it for staff lunch and give me a break.
Okay, I'll make you lunch this week, Dee. Next week I'll make you lunch.
Also, we were getting fish and chips this week, but now nobody has showed up yet.
Oh, you just wait. We're going to support our local restaurants this week. Tomorrow's Fish and Chips Day here.
I am so proud of everybody, by the way. Everybody's racing to the restaurants to buy gift cards. Not everybody that I know.
Yeah.
That can spare some money. Obviously, if you don't have the money, don't be like me and just go and buy a bunch of gift cards. But I'm an industry guy. I know how it feels for them and how much it actually sucks. That
Yeah,
I
they're
mean, it's
struggling.
nobody's. You know what? Everybody's trying to do a good job, though.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I know there are certain people taking heat right now, but I mean, what if you were in their shoes? Like what the hell? Like, anything you say and do is just hated instantly and immediately.
Well.
But anyway,
Anyhow.
it's a big agenda. All we have is each other in your community,
Yep.
and maybe we should just support each other. And you know what? It's been over a year. Anyway, I don't want to sound so.
So
friendly,
our
but,
restaurant friends need your help, but if you aren't ordering takeout or going to sit socially distanced on a patio, you're probably making dinner at home. And like me, you're probably excited about the spring ingredients and tired of cooking the same old, same old. So tonight we're changing things up a little bit. We've got 2 asparagus dishes. One is...
the first one is super cheesy. I think it is super cheesy. I used to do this like 2000s, I think. But I think it's such a fun thing to eat that it should be out there. It's a asparagus rolled in ham, just like you said. But this time we're going to use an actual dry cured ham from Parma, prosciutto to Parma. And I'll show you a little trick just to how to just add a depth of flavor. And then I just want to make asparagus risotto, fava beans, morels. Morels hasn't started yet, unfortunately, but I have a dry stash from David at home, so I brought them over. But this risotto is not going to be creamy, thick, or anything. It's just going to be a nice light rice dish that you can have with your glass of white wine and on a patio. And you should be on a patio, right? You're Canadian. Just put on your jackets and go out there and support restaurants.
Yeah, if you're eating at home, you can eat indoors still. But risotto, you're right, Chef. Asparagus really loves white wine. Asparagus loves like some Sauvignon Blanc, some good BC Pinot Grigio would be really good. So support your local wineries. They really need the business now too.
I know I am.
The wineries, the breweries. So tonight we're having a glass of Igneous Vineyards. They're granite white. They're from the Okanagan Valley. And it's a really nice, crisp, there's a little bit of Chardonnay in there to make it a little bit buttery, which will be delicious with the Chardonnay, or with the risotto.
I love white wine. White wine is for daytime, though.
Daytime?
It is a daytime drink. Or like really later in the night that you have no more energy to deal with, hard bar or a red wine.
I like white wine all the time. And I think last night I was looking for a bottle of wine to open for dinner, and I actually thought, I'm going to have some rosé. And I don't have any rosé in my cellar, so I'm going to have to get some rosé, I think, for this spring.
Rosé is pretty good too. I learned to like rosé. It wasn't a very manly thing to do, I guess. It was,
Real men drink rosé, Chef.
Yeah. And real men should be able to appreciate a slice of great cake. That's what Dylan Watson said.
A slice of what?
A slice of great cake.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Dylan Watson said that he lives in Berlin. He's a chef.
So let's talk about buying asparagus. So when you're buying asparagus, what are you looking for?
I usually just, size depends on the plant, how skinny it is. I don't go with the too thick ones or too skinny ones if I have the option.
This is about the size of a pencil. I think this is like a perfect shape.
It is, but I trimmed that. It was at this,
But
exactly.
the diameter,
the diameter
of a pencil.
It could be slightly thicker, Sharpie maybe. And then I usually just look in the bottoms. The bottoms, if they're like really, really dry and crusty, that means that asparagus has been sitting. If you bring him home, grab him, put him in one of those yogurt containers that's in your stash. That's just because I have like millions of them. Obviously.
That's where all my yogurt containers are going.
No, I brought all your daily cups back and washed them and put them away. I already did. And then just either wrap a little wet towel in the bottom so that they can keep their freshness, and then a little wet towel on top, and then just to keep it in your fridge, and as you consume
Yeah, I just stand them up in the yogurt container in my refrigerator in a little bit of water. Change out the water every day or two.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, change out the water every day or two. And then when you go to use it, you still have to trim the ends again, even if you trim them the first time. If they're really woody, like Chef said, trim them up.
But they don't go to garbage. They go into your amuse-bouche, your asparagus soup, little cream of asparagus soup or whatever.
I make good asparagus soup.
There you go. Why don't you just show us? I'm just going to grab the bottle.
And then the floury end of the asparagus.
I usually use it for garnish because it's just the most prized end.
But you want to make sure it's a nice tight flour on the end of it. If it's starting to look dried out and kind of crusty.
Or spoiled, like you can see like brown spots and mushy spots, just stay
just
off
leave
of
it
them.
alone. But you're looking for a really nice tight flour on the end of the asparagus, and it should feel firm in your hand. It shouldn't be limp or whatever. So that's how you're, going to buy some really good asparagus. If you're using it for a soup or something, you can use the larger pieces of asparagus, but at some point when they sort of get beyond like the size of like a Sharpie or something like that, they just get so woody and fibrous. They're not very good to eat, to be honest.
It is, you just got to cook them a little bit longer. This doesn't need cooking a whole lot. Also, I don't blanch asparagus. I stopped that behavior a long time ago. Blanching greens, because it's one of the funniest things. Like, you would do a French service at a restaurant, all of your greens have been blanched, and then you finish the service and go for just some Chinese food, and you just think that, you know how delicious that is? I'm like, yeah, they don't blanch. Blanching dilutes vegetables. And also, honestly, a blanched asparagus and a raw asparagus cooks in the same amount of time.
I love roasted asparagus. I just lay them out on a sheet pan, drizzle of good olive oil, sprinkle of salt and pepper, and in a high oven, 450, 475.
Put some lemon juice and all.
Yeah, so delicious.
All right.
So I'm not sure if Kay's had a chance yet to post Kay has posted the recipes. Thanks, David. So the recipes are there if you'd like to follow along or cook with us. If you have questions, just type them into the comment bar and I'll forward. What are you doing?
To her, not to me.
Just type your questions into the comment bar and I'll forward them to Chef. We are also still taking suggestions for upcoming classes. We do have some sponsored classes coming up that I'm kind of excited about. So if you have some things you'd like to learn to cook this spring, just type it into the comment bar and I'll pass it on to Chef, and he'll probably say no, and then I'll make him do it anyhow.
I still don't have a company email, which I refrain from. So
he's boycotting.
I'm not boycotting. I'm just using a filter.
Yeah.
So I don't have to.
Ask a chef at wellseasoned.ca.
Like 10 hours and then go home and just spend another 2 hours?
Yeah, no, I just text you all night anyhow. Yeah. So enjoy the cooking, and if you have questions, just go ahead and ask them, and we'll pass them on to Chef. So let's get busy.
All right. Now, how to trim asparagus. Every asparagus has a breaking point.
Everybody does.
Right, sit them down, put a light on them, and just ask all those questions. So, what you would like to do is you just pass and go towards the end of the asparagus, and you're just going to lightly bend this. Okay? We're going to lightly bend this, and don't go too harsh. If you go too harsh, you're just going to break it where it's at. But as you can see, that's where the woodsy starts and the tender part ends. Again, these are good for soup, asparagus puree, or if you're making a tart like we did last week. So save these, don't get rid of them. Now, just to match to my ham slices, I'm just going to trim this one more time.
Chef, Gladys is asking about white asparagus. If you have access to white asparagus, should it be about the same size?
Depends. White asparagus is more consistent in size, but it's how it comes.
I haven't seen white asparagus here fresh. I've only ever seen it canned.
No, yeah.
Do you get it where you are, Gladys? You obviously get it fresh, I guess, since you're asking the question, but it's not really available to us here in Canada.
No. You can get the imported stuff for sure, Um, yeah, but
I've only
not-
ever
not
seen
much.
it in a jar or a can.
No grocery stores carry it.
White, fresh?
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah, I'll bring some. You gotta go to the fancy ones, Whole Foods and
Obviously.
stuff.
I got to get out more.
All right, so now my asparagus is trimmed. We're going to wrap this in ham and put it in a very hot oven, or you can slap it on your grill too. Either or. Now, let's get our ham out of this packaging first. Whenever you're handling Italian-style salt-cured ham, you really have to lighten up your hands. And also, don't put anything on top of it,
Oh, listen to this guy.
like a 3 kg bag of sausages, so that the kitchen doesn't lose their mind the next day.
You're
Trying to
welcome.
separate them. Yeah. I usually ask Bonetti's meats just to do Angie does a good job, and they do an excellent job usually. There's a little. All right, 2 more slices. Let's make
So,
4.
Chef, if you can't access prosciutto, you can use regular ham, obviously.
Just regular ham is equally delicious, or any salami, to be honest with you. It is kind of redundant to cook really good quality ham, but you know what? The hell with it. We just live only once, so
YOLO.
yeah. But I mean, it would hurt, right? You just cure a ham for like 36 months, wait on it, and then all of a sudden somebody's just crisping it up in the oven. You'd be like, So with my garlic, I just cut the top. Should I need to know anything?
No.
Okay. I cut the top. Okay. I drizzle a little bit olive oil, wrapped in aluminum foil, pop it in the oven, 325, 350 for about 40 minutes. They become really, really nice and soft and caramelized. Then I squeeze it out. I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil to this just to ease this paste. And that's going to be our secret flavor with the asparagus wrapped ham, right? Everybody does the regular things. I love messing with recipes like that, but rather adding to the composition on the outside, I usually just dig deep and hide things around so it's more fun to eat. So I'm going to brush my ham with roasted garlic and extra virgin olive oil. Also, this is going to act like a nice little glue. Not that it needs it, but, you know, extra accent. Do we have Doug tonight?
Doug's here.
Awesome.
He's ready.
Awesome. Doug's going to be...
Doug's got his stopwatch handy, I think.
And then I'm going to sprinkle lightly with Parmesan Reggiano. Nicely, finely grated Parmesan Reggiano. And use the good stuff for this because...
Not the craft shaker, please.
No, God. Unless... I'm kidding. Don't use that stuff.
My dad called it dirty foot cheese. You ever smell it? It smells like dirty feet.
The stuff in the shaker can.
Yeah. So, sorry, before we wrap them, let's take it off the paper. Again, when you peel it away very, very gently on your board. Let me show you how to run a station. Oh no, I got breakage. It's not a big deal, happens to the best of us. Peel it off, use as gravity as you can. You don't want to tear your ham too much because once it's torn, now you got, we're going to roll it up, but if you're doing things, always try to do things right in the first place, so it becomes a habit, so next time you have, hand practice, or familiarity. So, takes my asparagus and roll it nice and tight. That's my number 1.
Veronica says you can get white asparagus occasionally at Granville Island. And
Whole Foods carries them.
Doug agrees with David. It's also known as stinky foot cheese.
Yeah, that's what my dad called it.
I mean, most cheese are actually. They have that same flavor profile of an old sock or whatever.
All right, enough, both of you.
No, you never had Robuchon? Just it opens up in your mouth, and I'm like, what just happened in my mouth right now?
Okay, stop talking, Chef.
Okay. It's a delicacy.
It's something, all right.
You had reblochon though, right?
Of course, yes. I've had so many cheeses. I've been doing the cheese tastings they offer at Les Amis de Fromage.
And then, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you, so I got to get this in the oven. I'm going to drizzle with a little bit more extra virgin olive oil and the lightest pinch of Parmesan. Now, this is going to go in the hot oven. Doug, we're going to keep an eye on it. Put it, please, 6-7 minute timer.
No pressure, Doug.
You remember that day? This what was the honey roasted something? She opened the oven and it was like, oh my.
Smoke everywhere. I've been participating in the cheese tastings at Les Amis de Fromage, and I have to tell you, they are phenomenal. They have another one coming up at the end of April. If you go to their website, it's buycheese.ca, and it's just like your cheese world will open up.
I know,
It's
I've been to
amazing.
Leslie. Yeah, it's just, and they're so helpful. I usually just go in by like 2 ounce or 4 kinds, get some crackers, get some olives, go home, and you don't have to cook tonight. All the hard work is done for you.
Chef Heather wants to know, who only makes 4 asparagus spears?
I do, Heather. Any problem with that? Well, David, you can eat that, actually.
No, David's off dairy at the moment.
Okay, so 4 asparagus and a plate of risotto would feed Angie tonight. So,
Apparently.
Yeah.
Sorry for your luck, Heather.
Also, you don't want me just like standing here and just rolling asparagus the whole time. I mean, we got bigger fish to fry. Now, risotto. I started my pan. There are 2 types of risotto rice, arborio and carnoli. They're equally delicious and awesome. We carry both kinds in here, I'm assuming?
Of which, sorry? Yes.
Arborio or carnoli?
Yep.
Yeah. So just come and grab. This is a short grain rice with a lot of starch. Now, this rice has been harvested probably 2 years ago, since it's imported from Italy. 2 years ago, maybe, or I'm assuming because all the borders was closed and, right?
Well, yeah, the borders never closed to imports. There was delays at the port where containers weren't clearing and stuff. So
anyway, it's not a perishable item because of it's brittle and there's not a whole lot of moisture into it.
I think things are back on track, though.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This one, and especially the paella rice that comes in a breathable bag, it's been there for a while, at least a year. So what I like to do is just awaken the rice and put it in a pan, dry pan that's heating up, and toast it dry first before you do anything. Okay?
Do you have a preference, Chef, the arborio or the carnaroli?
No, whatever is available. Just don't go crazy with it. You know what I mean? Just whatever is around you. There is some super duper vacuum packed in this and that. Those are nice. But honestly, at the end, if you cook the risotto right and if you apply the technique and temperature and do everything right, you can actually use any short grain rice. It just will work. Let me see.
Doug's got you, Chef. He hasn't responded that your time's up, so.
Doug, I know you're the timer, and thank you for that, but at the same time, the oven has to be on par too, because sometimes she's slow, sometimes it's called adaptability. Now, my rice is toasted. Whenever you toast things, though, just watch your temperature, especially with spices. I see it with a lot of people, they burn their spices.
Once they start toasting, they go from brown to black pretty fast.
It's not even brown to black. Like, essence dies in the environment of excessive heat. Once you started to go to that brown stage, like that roasted flavor starts to take over, and then eventually it will just like you said, it will just go black. You want, when you toast spices or rice, you really, really want those floral notes to just awake, but not to just roast them. So, and if you know what if you don't know what I'm talking about, just please toast your cumin at home, ground it, and then go to the store and buy pre-ground cumin, and how actually floral and wonderful it is.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges when they're fresh, roasted.
Now, you can totally smell the rice, and it's fully awake now. I'm just going to get it out of here.
This is a really good step. I even do this step when I'm making basmati or jasmine rice.
absolutely.
I toast it before I...
Especially with rice with essence.
it just changes the flavor profile. And it's such an easy step to take. It's
Yeah, and it completely just gets into the stock that you're cooking.
Yeah.
Now, today I'm going to use chicken stock. If you're a vegetarian, use vegetable stock or mushroom stock, either or. I try to like use a light stock, whitish stock. Just so you know, I use chicken broth because it's beneficial for you. It's got a lot of collagen and gelatin and all that in it.
And the flavor isn't going to overpower the asparagus either.
No, not like a light stock. It
Right.
wouldn't. Just like, well, let's check on that asparagus again.
Because you're buying the nice, fresh, local asparagus. You don't want to kill it with your with a really strong stock.
I mean, most stock would work. And honestly, if you don't have access to stock, just use water. No, don't. The water, if you can flavor things right, actually water makes everything lighter and a way more clean eating. Well, that's my personal opinion, apparently. All right, so just like a few knobs of butter. You don't want to go too fast.
Chef, you're at 6 minutes according to Doug.
Okay, let's just slow this butter down for a second. I've been talking too much.
Now we have brown butter.
No, this is not brown yet. I just put a dash of stock. That will bring everything down. I'm going to put my shallots, my few thyme sprigs.
So why shallots instead of an onion, Chef?
Because they are wonderful and really, really light in flavor and onion. Shallot is also a cross between onion and a garlic. It has that aroma, and they are very gentle in nature. And I don't want to, again, overpower the asparagus with like a, strong onion flavor. Little garlic. Let's just chill this out for a second. She's a bit too hot. She's too hot for now.
Very aggressive
I know.
pan today.
Let's add a couple more knobs of butter. Now what I'm looking at is a nice pink shallots and a really, really flavorsome, aromatic base.
It doesn't take long for the shallots to almost totally melt down into the...
Absolutely. Onions are fascinating if you never worked with them. I mean, I'm sure you did, but if you work with them properly, they're actually quite delicious. Let me see.
Doug says you're at 6 minutes.
Perfect. 3 more minutes, Doug. All right. Now, we started with the rice. We woke up the aroma. Now we got a fragrant rice. Now I added butter. To that butter, I added shallots, garlic, rosemary, and thyme. Now I have butter, shallots, garlic, rosemary, thyme flavor already going in my pan. Now, building risotto is all about building flavor. So you just got to be patient and take your time. Risotto will take about 20 minutes to cook. Morel powder, since it's a morel risotto. And if you can't find morel powder, you're more than welcome to use
Porcini powder?
porcini, which is way more available.
And way less expensive.
Oh, they're pretty par on point. But I just saw it at Costco, whole dried porcinis. And then just take them, get a spice blender, and blitz it. Morels and porcini are delicious in flavor, but they really, really shine just like lavender when they're actually dry. Now, again, on top of that, I have morel powder in here. After the rosemary, thyme, garlic, and shallots and butter, now I added another layer. Now to this, if you know me by now, I'm going to add a little bit of an acidic ingredient, and I would like to do it right now, sherry vinegar.
Obviously.
Right?
You're cooking. There's sherry vinegar and maple syrup in here.
There's no maple syrup tonight. This is a very savory dish. But sherry vinegar is a very strong vinegar. It's good for cooking. I added at this stage so I can cook it and curve it into the sweet tones. So just a dash. Nothing too serious.
So if you didn't have sherry vinegar on hand, Chef, this would be a
Red
good
wine.
time to add some wine.
Red wine vinegar. We're going to add the wine. Wine is the gentle acidity. Let's check on those asparagus.
Barb wants to know how long the mushroom powder, the blitzed mushroom powder, will keep.
I mean, forever, to be honest with you.
I mean,
the flavor becomes lighter as it sits, but it's not like those McCormick spice. Oh, I shouldn't say it. Brandon.
I would use it, Barb, probably, you know, if you have the dried mushrooms in your pantry as dried mushrooms, grind them into powder as you need them.
Yeah, that's a great trick.
It'll be better if they're preserved in your cupboard whole, dried, rather than dried as powder.
Yeah. Now, my vinegar is just cooked off. I'm going to add my second layer of acid. Now, this is gentle acid. This is a sweet acid. It's just white wine.
And you want to use a good quality wine. If you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. Because all you're going to do is intensify the shitty flavor of shitty wine. So if you're using a good wine, don't use your $40 bottle of Chardonnay. But,
obviously.
But use a good wine that you would actually drink, that tastes good.
Right? Yes. So the shorter you cook wine, the better quality it has to be. If you're finishing your sauce with it or with your risotto with it, then you have to use a drinkable wine. But if you're doing a dark braise that's going to go for 6 hours, now you can lower your budget and just buy, one of those boxed wines.
Yeah, or buy a bottle of $6 or $8 wine that tastes okay.
Exactly.
Don't buy the cooking wine from the grocery store. Usually it's really high in sodium.
Yeah.
And it's not going to taste very good. And when you reduce it, it gets too salty.
It can get nasty. So shall we plate this and taste it while our wine cooks away?
Yeah, Heather's concerned about the portion control here, Chef.
How many would you do, Heather? Just give us an answer.
I feel like Heather would do a lot of asparagus.
Heather says I have to smack it.
Yep.
Now, they go on a little piece of paper because we're classy like that. Okay? And then to this, since it's spring, I'm just going to add a touch more Parmesan just to finish it so my plate has some form of movement and extra of that, just the cooked roasted garlic and a wedge of lemon, because everything is served with lemon in Mediterranean summertime. Maybe a drizzle of olive oil.
A what?
A drizzle.
A shrizzle.
Yeah, I'm listening to hip-hop these days.
Okay. Faux shizzle. Thank you for not drenching that in balsamic reduction, because I feel like that is like...
That's a foodie move. That's not a chef move. We left balsamic reduction in about 2010. That's where it's ended.
Some people did. Not everybody, unfortunately.
No? Well, just, it's a zigzag move, just all those zigzags. Do you want to come and give it a shot?
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. That is a great snack. I actually really like this.
Okay, Heather, it is a snack. It is good. It's very hot.
Oh yeah, it is. It's just getting out of the oven.
I mean, I could just eat like 20 or 30 of these and that would be my dinner. It's nice and salty. When you cook the prosciutto, it really intensifies the flavor and it dries it out a bit more. And it's so delicious.
Saltier,
yeah, it's so good. One of the chefs who used to teach here, he passed away a couple years ago. His name's Alan D. He made a recipe like this, but he rolled it in phyllo and then baked it in the oven. And he called them firecracker asparagus or something. And he served it with a really spicy, dipping sauce, because, we love to dip things here in Canada. Yeah. Anyhow, it was delicious. And this sort of reminds me of his dish.
Yeah, well, phyllo, ham, same thing.
Yeah, basically. No, it was the same thing. But the whole thing was wrapped in phyllo. Okay, never mind. I'm
All
going
right,
over
take
here.
the plate.
Never mind. Tough crowd.
You should get your own show.
I do have my own show, Chef. You're on it.
Oh, no. All right, so the white wine has started to cook down.
And Heather agrees that 20 or 30 of these is exactly the right number.
You know what, Heather? Come down and hang out with Angie.
Then you'd have to make 60.
Do I? I'll go work for Popeyes down the road. I really want to check that out at some point in my career. Not Popeyes, but McDonald's. Anyway, we'll do that when we retire. So my wine is cooked down really, really nice. It's almost evaporated. I'm going to turn my heat to medium-high, just so slightly up than medium-high. And I am going to introduce my hydrated morel mushrooms. So morel mushrooms, as they cook, they're going to soak up all this flavor in here. And they're going to create a very, very strong fundament.
It's just a bit of cheese.
Awesome. And then to this, just crank it up. It's medium high. To this, I'm going to add my rice. So 100 ml rice serves one person. Okay, that's your gauge. If you have 5 people coming, 2 cups of rice will serve, and it will take, give or take, 3 times the stock. 3 times the stock of whatever your volume is. So if you have 500 ml of rice, you will need 1.5 liters of
Stock.
So today I'm just doing it just for 1 or 2 portions. Just like your recipe would say.
So Chef Sarah says that a friend of hers, an Italian friend, got her into peeling asparagus, and now that's the only way she does it.
Okay, just because somebody's Italian doesn't mean that they're good cooks. We gotta kill this notion. Like all the Italians are acting up. I'm like, no, man. Yes, you can peel asparagus. When you charge, just decent amount of money, you just be concerned. But peeling asparagus is a thing of 90s. We don't practice that anymore. Right now, we're after good food with good ingredients and affordable that offers an exceptional value. That's what the diners are going for.
I think the larger asparagus benefits from peeling because it sort of whittles down some of the woody bits. But I don't know that I've ever peeled any of the smaller asparagus. It feels kind of wasteful to me, to be honest.
It is just a Marco Pierre White and a early Gordon Ramsay thing to do. They don't do that behavior no more.
Heather, Chef Heather says, next week, watch out. She might just show up. You better amp up the portion size, and she'll bring scotch, she says.
What kind of scotch? If it's Mac 12, you have a seat. If not, just you can threaten me all you want.
McAllen's 12 in a mask, Heather, and Chef is, now you're talking his language.
To this, I'm going to add 100 mils of stock. Okay. And I'm going to turn my stock off. Now, first, I'm going to let this conversation go on for a minute without mixing too much. So that everything starts to cook. Now, ideally, you will have to shake this pan the whole 20 minutes. But that's not a fact. You can get away with not doing that. What I like to do is I just start the conversation by adding rather large amount of stock. Rather than 50 mils, I add 100 mils, and just to get the whole thing going. The reason why I do that is a great risotto is a product of great rhythm. It has to cook that way. You just have to have that rhythm from start to finish. The first 100 mil of stock, when I put it in, that's where I usually adjust my heat. I'm like, okay, that's a bit too fast, which is a bit too fast. And I'm going to drop down to medium heat so that I have a nice rhythm. I don't run out of stock before my rice is cooked, which is fine. You can just keep on adding water to it until the rice is done. And then I will show you the restaurant trick where we par cook rice so that you don't have to wait 30 minutes every time you order risotto. And we don't have to, excuse me, lose our minds in the kitchen, just doing everything to order. One of my friends was just charging $40 for risotto. And I asked him, I'm like, for rice? I'm like, why would you do that? He goes like, well, it's the real estate. It gets on the stovetop. They have a limited space. But they make it to order, which I find is a little bit too ambitious.
Chef Heather has a question. She wants to know who has the energy to shake a pan for 20 minutes when you've only given them 4 sprigs of asparagus for fuel.
Oh, man, this is a tough match. Heather, what's going on? I offer you 20 bucks maybe, so be on my side? I'll pay 40. if you
Heather's
want.
on fire tonight.
I know. She's going full speed. Keep them coming, Heather. We love getting heckled. And a human being can go without food for 60 days, a healthy human being. So,
I can go for probably several months.
yeah, count me on that too. I'm just like,
So Chef, Sarah was talking about the peeling of asparagus.
Yeah.
Do you ever use the shaved asparagus in dishes, like where you peel it into salads or any of that?
no, because I'm paying for it. I mean, I can take the peels and introduce into an asparagus soup and this and that, but it's just another mood that doesn't achieve a whole lot. Even with the woodsy asparagus, the middle part is where it's actually fibrous. Peeling it, I mean, I would just use it whole, to be honest with you. Now, to this, I'm going to add another ladle of stock. I'm going to shake my pan. Now, shaking the pan will release the starch of the rice. But what we also, like the whole logic behind risotto is to use a good quality stock, like we do in well-seasoned, as always. And then each time you shake the pan, the rice will release its starch, but at the same time, it will reduce, meaning that it's going to concentrate on flavor as it cooks. So what that whole means that you have a bunch of concentrated stock and all this, the shallots and the garlic and the white wine and the sherry and the rice and the morels being intensified and fold over and over and over again until the whole dish is done.
So it's really important that your stock isn't over seasoned, because if your stock is already salty, as it's sort of reducing and evaporating in the pan, it's going to get even saltier. So you have to make sure your stock is fairly, I don't want to say bland, but not over seasoned.
Or like really, really strong of a stock, at least sodium-wise. Now, can you get away with store-bought stock? You know what? Yes, you can, because it's a great convenience, and just because bone broth is so hot right now, just North America is figuring it out recently, how beneficial it's good and good for your health. That is, it's starting to be offered, and they have like low sodium choices. They have. And when you read the ingredients list, it's not a bunch of weird ingredients that's preservatives in there. That's actually natural stock that's been stabilized somehow with the magic of the magic of science. Okay, so let me introduce you another friend of mine, the awkward bean. That it's not very common here, but it's common in between. I'm going to add another ladle of stock. Give your pan a shake.
Marla's husband Gary's also an asparagus peeler. They're everywhere. Everyone's peeling the asparagus today. This is, risotto is such a, I don't know, I think it's a really comforting dish to make. It gives you time to kind of like hang out at the stove, have a glass of wine while you're cooking dinner, and just kind of relax and find your zen at the stove. We've been off rice at my house for a little while. And I do miss making risotto.
It is a fun thing to eat. However, I'm just going to remove a couple of these sprigs. They've done their job. I stopped ordering it at the restaurants because, so here's the deal. If it's an afterthought for the restaurant, being that fine dining, seared halibut risotto, sablefish risotto, I don't order that risotto. I would go to a pasta restaurant and order risotto and eat it. But what tends to happen is just because it's a creamy dish, everybody really overdoes it. And they keep on at the end adding more butterfat, and it becomes this really, really gunky and pasty whole rice pudding rather than a light eating risotto. So this is about the starch of the rice and the rice itself. That's how Italian cuisine works. So yeah, I usually just stay away from it unless somebody really knowledgeable is making the risotto. It shouldn't be too much fat in there, especially in a spring risotto. So this is a fava bean. If you've never seen one, you can buy these frozen in some stores. Oriental large markets, or it's actually available by the farmers. I picked this up on the drive in a place that it's a fascinating place. The Morels and chanterelles, $10 a pound too. It comes in bags and stuff. I'm like, really? You guys do this? But they do. He does. So first things first, you just have to open it up. So get your guests and put them to work while you do the risotto. Now you will end up with these little kernels. This is too large. If you get a younger one, you can braise the whole thing. It looks awful, goes really gray and black, but it actually tastes quite good.
You need a good Chianti.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot.
That was close.
That wasn't even close. And then I blanch these in salted boiling water for about 3 minutes. Peel them when they're hot, not like this. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to crush the outer skin gently. Don't put your whole finger in there. And then you squeeze it out. And you have these lovely little morsels of spring flavor. They also make an exceptional vegan pate, if you've never made it, with lemon, potatoes, and dill.
So Chef Marla's cooking along, and she said she couldn't find the fava beans, so she's using peas.
Absolutely. Those are available too.
And she also got my Chianti joke. Thank you, Marla.
What was the joke about?
Fava beans and a good Chianti. Didn't you ever see Silence of the Lambs, Chef? Never mind.
Yeah. I don't remember the scene. Anyway, thanks for David for the reminder. The most, one of the things I remember him being on the phone saying Clarice. It just was spooky.
Barb wants to know if fava beans and broad beans are the same thing.
Broad beans can be anything. Fava beans are fava beans. But yes, sometimes they are referred in canned form as broad beans.
It's the same bean, Barb.
Is it?
It is.
Really?
Yes.
I might have to Google that.
I just Googled it. That's how I know this.
And you took a piece of information.
According to the Google.
Anyway, let's skip that part. All right. Now, let's grab a bunch of spoons. It's COVID times, no double dipping. Right now, I want to see where my rice is at. Oh, man.
So, Marla, are you and Gary using the Morel powder, or did you use porcini powder in this? I'm just curious if you found the Morel or ground your own.
Awesome. While Marla just writes the answer. Now, my rice is cooked about 60%. If you were to serve a large crowd, such as 300, this is where you stop it. You just lay this on a piece of sheet pan. We do this in restaurants to be able to keep up with the pace. And then you wrap this with plastic wrap. So what it does is just going to take all the heat that's still in there, and it's going to cook your rice perfectly from inside out. You know how sometimes people boil beets and the outside is super soft and inside is actually done?
Yeah.
That's a great way to cook beets is a rice cooker, just so you know. You want a uniform rice texture from outside to inside, but cooked. And steaming and stopping the whole behavior, stopping the whole momentum of heat is available at this rate. Okay? So if you were to just like make a risotto for 40 people, the next day, this is where you stop, spread it on a baking sheet, wrap it up with saran wrap, and just let it equalize on its own.
So, Chef, Marla's using morels, dried morels, but she also has dried chanterelles.
Yeah, dried chanterelles are actually excellent with their flowery note. I actually don't mind dried chanterelles
I think they're a lot milder, though, than
but chanterelle, that's what chanterelle is. Chanterelle is not known for its taste too much, but it's more like for its creaminess.
And its meatiness. Like, to eat them
exactly.
fresh, they're so delicious.
It is a luxury that we can have all those mushrooms in British Columbia.
Yeah.
But again, if you can see the texture of it, it is nice, it's brothy, it's just shiny, the starch is coming out.
We are definitely spoiled here for choice when it comes to fresh mushrooms.
Oh yeah, it's It's actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the matsutake, the lobster, the cauliflower, it's just hen of the woods. And it's so much fun to go picking. All right, so this is coming along. I have about 3 to 4 minutes on this. I'm going to crank the heat up a little bit more. Now, let's do. I love a light risotto. I just love the whole thing. Like, I know butter fat makes, or milk fat makes everything tasting great, but light is a skill. Light in flavorism is a skill, and it's hard to achieve. It's very easy to just keep on jamming butter and bacon and all that stuff. But
So easy.
yeah.
Because it's
But
so delicious.
It is, but we're West Coast people, and
So you can eat this and do yoga at the same time, is that what you're saying?
no, I don't practice yoga. I don't. I just, I can barely walk. I can't bend, so I'm like Johnny Cash. Oh, what was the guy from the?
Was it before he went to prison or after he went to prison?
One day I will. All right, let's test our rice. We're at 80%. 2 minutes away. Now it is good time to get our asparagus in, because that is still raw.
So Chef Mark wants to know what's the texture you're looking for on the rice. How do you know it's doneness?
It is uniformly done. It's also like a poached egg. So it has to be uniformly done from outside. So if you go too fast and too much broth, the outside will cook and outside will be pasty and inside will be chalky. You don't want that. You want a nice uniform cooked rice bite that is toothsome but not raw.
You'll feel like the little kernel inside the rice is still like crunchy almost.
Slightly crunchy, yes, but not like crunchy. That means because raw rice will hurt your stomach afterwards, because it's going to still keep on absorbing liquid down there.
It's like how you know when pasta's al dente. You just know after you've done it several times when to stop. And you know, some people like it a little bit softer, some people like it a little firmer.
Yes and no, because pasta is a different thing. Pasta is a noodle. Pasta al dente, the toothsomeness of pasta has to come from a well-made dough, not because you undercook it.
You're right. I'm sorry. My point was that the more you cook it, the more often you make risotto, you'll just know when it's done.
Exactly.
Just like when you know your pasta's al dente.
Or just like anything else, you eventually get good at it, but it just takes practice. You know, nobody just reads a recipe and just goes and starts cooking and knocks it out of the park. So.
Unless it's you and a Scotch egg, but that's another story.
Yeah, but I spent 18 years in the kitchens, so I kind of know what's going on. Now, I'm just going to grab a little water. This is going to take about 25, 30 mils of water. I just need that extra time so Angie doesn't have to eat raw rice.
Thanks for that.
So I don't get a funny comment, right?
Oh, like that's going to stop.
All right. Nor it should. And then just a little water. 50 mils, not too much. Now, this is the time I'm going to slightly take my heat up. Normally, you would like to do the whole thing in a medium heat, but right now we have about 5 minutes left, and I'm going to use that 3 minutes just to finish this. To this, I'm going to add my little fava beans. My tiny little fava beans. I like Pecorino Romano. It's a sheep cheese, and it's just sharp, salty. It's got a very different character than a Parmesan. Not too much again, just few grits just to tighten the thing up.
Chef Nikki's watching tonight. Wow.
Which Nikki? Our Nikki?
Our Nikki, yeah.
Hi, Nikki.
So if you can't find Pecorino, Parmesan Reggiano will work great here.
I mean, Parmesan Reggiano is the king of cheeses, right? So it's just...
Chef Doug wants to know if the water that you're adding to the risotto needs to be warm or can it go in cold?
There is so much temperature in there, Doug. You don't need to have it hot. Yeah, cold is just fine. Because we're not adding like a large amount of water.
It's important that your stock is hot at the beginning of the recipe.
Yeah, so you can create a rhythm, unison, you know what I mean? Just maybe 10 more mils and the water is done. Oh man. Again, your recipe will usually dictate that risotto cooks in 18 minutes. But in real life, risotto cooks whenever the hell it cooks. And real life is not like that. Come on.
It's at least a 2-glass of winer at my house.
Yeah. I can go through a bottle in 18 minutes, I think. But don't do that. I'm going to have a few knobs of butter just to make everything nice and shiny. And just because Angie loves raw onions,
No.
little chives just to finish it off. It's going to get cooked in there. They're not raw at all. If you can't get chives, just get some green onions.
No leeks tonight, Chef. I thought you might be down with the spring leeks.
I still write every single recipe by hand. I don't copy and paste since everybody is very nice to me. So that was the older recipe. This is the newer one. And as you can see, you know what? Let's get rid of this also. Angie, are you ready for this?
Oh, I am so ready.
Awesome. Now, as you can see, the texture is quite loose. There's nothing gunky, nothing stiff. And I'm going to stop cooking right here. Now, this stuff is like eggs. If it's cooked by the time you pull it out of the water, by the time it hits the table, it will be overcooked. Because heat has a momentum and it travels.
Chef Marla and Gary are eating the asparagus now. They're loving it. She loves the roasted garlic in it.
Right? Just a little, you can put actually some raisins or a little anchovy in there too if you really want to
Just
surprise
a
it.
little sweetness, spicy,
Exactly.
or saltiness.
All right, Angie, we're ready.
Okay, I'm
Let's start,
coming.
Angie. Now, this is going to be obviously hot like many dishes. But I'm pretty sure Angie's up for the job. Oh, I will, yeah. And then once you just heat 30% on, I'm just going to or tap it. Now again, it's not liquidy, nor it's thick and gunky. Just a little lemon juice, just a tad. You don't want too much lemon juice because it's a creamy product. Then just a little Pecorino Romano. Bam.
Oh, God. He just bammed.
Emerald is one of the best cooks ever.
Oh, behave. Behave. I'm excited for the Fava Bean, to be honest.
You're not a fan, I know that.
Of Emerald. Mm.
You're the bee on the
Flavor Town. On the train to Flavor Town?
the bus to Flavor Town?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, Guy Fieri over Emerald.
No.
No.
It's really good. It's salty, but like perfectly salty from the cheese and the reduced stock. I think this dish with the mushrooms, the stock, and the veggies doesn't need any protein. I think when people quite often make risotto, they think they need to serve it with fish or serve it with chicken. You don't
No.
necessarily need to do that. This stands up by itself without the protein.
Because
think.
this is a rice dish. It's not it's not a garnish. That's how we treated pasta for years, as a garnish.
Yeah.
No, this is about rice. Pizza is actually about dough. Pasta is about the dough. So if you do everything right and cook a rice dish perfectly like this, then you'll score. It's just it doesn't need any more push. But I think just the labor is so expensive, and we use a lot of semi-processed products in North America just for cooking. And it's hard to make money from food because, like, yeah, labor is expensive. So we tend to just get the semi-processing, and then that insecurity pushes to just add more and more and more. So, but as you get older, like myself, you learn to just go back to Mother Nature or nature of things, and then just do things for what they actually are, and master the actual process rather than, all right, that's easy, everybody does that, and then I'm going to add on top of that.
So I'm not normally a broad bean or fava bean fan, but in this dish they're so buttery, and they're so green and fresh tasting. Marla, I'm sure the peas are going to be equally delicious in yours. There's something really delicious about a spring pea or a frozen pea. Frozen peas are so good.
I love frozen.
They don't get enough action, I don't think.
I agree. But as you can see, normally when a risotto sits about 3 minutes, now that since we're done, we're still very, very creamy. And all this creaminess comes from starch. And you know what the difference is?
What?
Starch creaminess, that starch thickness, as soon as it hits your palate, it melts away. Because it's very light. It's made with starch. Butterfat will stick on your palate, and it's just going to sit there. That's what makes heavy risottos really, really heavy. And
That's why you need the good crisp white wine to cut through that.
Exactly. But when it's a starch thick, it literally just melts away.
So this is still nice and buttery because you did add a good amount of butter. You did add a decent amount of cheese. Did the parm go in here also?
No,
or just the pecorino?
just the pecorino.
The
Parm
parm was in the prosciutto wrapped asparagus. So this does have a good amount of sort of structure to the sauce, which is really delicious. This would be so good, even served like leftovers the next day with a poached egg would be just delicious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, poached egg would be perfect in there, actually.
Yeah, really good.
All
and
right.
the morels are really good too.
Yeah, they're spoiled with that.
Mm-hmm. Those were dried morels.
Those were dried morels they were still local. That was from David. He actually dropped a bunch of, I have a great life actually. He dropped a bunch of porcinis and morels at my place when he came over.
But if you don't have access to the dried or fresh morels, you could certainly use a button mushroom. You can do any kind of mushroom you have on hand. But the mushroom adds so much meatiness to the risotto. It's a really good addition to this. And then the asparagus is just so sweet and crispy. It's delicious. And the asparagus that was wrapped in the prosciutto was also very good. And I do agree with Marla that the sweetness of the roasted garlic mixed in there was really